We're here for your wife. She's under arrest.
Show me your credentials, or admit your frauds.
Dispatch, conform these imposters.
The pounding on the front door echoed through our quiet suburban home like a thunderclap on a clear day. It was one of those lazy Saturday mornings in Maplewood Estates, the kind where the coffee brews slow and the newspaper waits unfolded on the kitchen table. Birds chirped outside, lawns hummed with distant mowers, and the world felt predictable. But that insistent knock, sharp, demanding, shattered it all. "Open up, Mr. Reynolds. We're here for your wife. She's under arrest." The voice was cold, authoritative, like something out of a late-night cop drama. My heart skipped. Who could possibly want Emily? And why now? I wiped my hands on a dish towel and approached the door cautiously. Maplewood Estates was the epitome of middle American bliss. Manicured yards, white picket fences, kids on scooters, and barbecues every weekend. We'd lived here for 15 years, raised our family in this cul-de-sac haven just outside of Denver, Colorado. Emily was the county sheriff, respected by everyone from the local diner owner to the mayor. Arrest? It had to be a mistake. I cracked the door open, peering out at 4 men standing rigid on my porch. They were dressed in crisp navy blue uniforms, badges glinting in the morning sun, holsters heavy with sidearms already drawn. No friendly nods, no explanations, just stern faces hidden behind aviator sunglasses. "Step aside, sir," the lead man said, his tone flat and unyielding. "We have a warrant." I scanned them quickly. No visible name tags, no squad car in sight, just a black SUV parked at the curb like it belonged there. Something felt off, like a puzzle missing pieces. "Warrant for what?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "And where's the paperwork? You can't just show up like this." The leader didn't flinch. "Call her out, Mr. Reynolds. Don't complicate things." Neighbors were starting to notice curtains twitching in the house across the street. Old Mr. Harlan, pausing his mailbox, checked to stare. The air thickened with unspoken questions. From inside, I heard Emily's footsteps, soft but purposeful on the hardwood floor. "John, what's happening out there?" she called, her voice calm as always. I glanced back. "They say they're police, and they're here for you." She didn't panic. Emily never did. Instead, she stepped forward, pushing the screen door open with quiet confidence. But she wasn't in her weekend sweats. No, she emerged in her full sheriff's uniform, khaki shirt pressed sharp, gold star badge shining on her chest, duty belt complete with radio and handcuffs. The sunlight caught the edges of her insignia, making it gleam like a beacon. The 4 men froze, their postures shifting from aggressive to uncertain. One's hand twitched on his pistol grip. Another swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing visibly. Emily stood tall, her eyes locking onto the leaders. "Gentlemen, you're aiming firearms at a civilian on private property. Holster them immediately." Her words weren't shouted. They were delivered with the quiet authority of someone who'd faced down real threats in her 20 years on the force. The leader tried to recover, clearing his throat. "Ma'am, this is official business. You're coming with us." Emily tapped her badge. "If you're legitimate officers, you know exactly who I am, Sheriff Emily Reynolds. Show me your credentials, or explain why you're impersonating law enforcement with drawn weapons. That's a serious felony." Silence hung heavy. A dog barked down the block, and I spotted Mrs. Ellis on her porch, phone in hand, already recording. The neighborhood grapevine was activating. Emily didn't wait for their stammering. She keyed her shoulder mic. "Dispatch, this is Sheriff 312 Echo. For subjects in Navy uniforms at my residence, claiming an arrest warrant for me. Verify any active orders." The response crackled back almost instantly, audible to everyone. 312 Echo, negative on warrants. No records. Backup en route. Confirming 4 potential impersonators. The color drained from the men's faces. One muttered something under his breath, another shifted his weight like he was ready to bolt. The sirens started faint in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Real sirens, from real deputies. This was no mix-up. These men weren't cops, they were frauds, and Emily had just unmasked them in front of the whole street. The leader raised his voice, desperation creeping in. "Stand down, Sheriff. You're under arrest for violations." Emily crossed her arms. "Violations of what? Produce the warrant, or admit your frauds." The crowd grew, neighbors spilling out. Phones up, murmurs turning to accusations. "They're fakes," someone yelled. The men exchanged glances, their charade crumbling under the weight of scrutiny. As the sirens wailed closer, tires screeching around the corner, 2 patrol cars pulled up, lights flashing red and blue across the lawns. Deputies jumped out, weapons at the ready. "Drop the guns. Hands where we can see them." The imposters hesitated, but the game was up. One by one, they lowered their pistols, the clatter of metal on concrete echoing like defeat. Emily directed the scene with precision. "Secure them." Impersonation, unlawful possession, attempted false arrest. The deputies cuffed the men efficiently, reading rights as neighbors cheered softly. But then, striding up the sidewalk like he owned the place, came Harold Benson, our HOA president. He was in his usual polo shirt and khakis, clipboard clutched like a talisman, face flushed with indignation. Harold had run Maplewood Estates for a decade, enforcing rules on everything from fence heights to holiday lights with iron-fisted newsletters and fines. "What in God's name is going on here?" he demanded. "These men are on official community business." Emily turned, her expression hardening. "Official? They're armed imposters, Harold. And you sent them?" Harold puffed up. "They're enforcement specialists from Neighborhood Enforcement Partners. The board hired them to handle stubborn residents. You've ignored our notices about your yard decorations, Sheriff Reynolds. No exceptions, even for you." The crowd gasped. Mrs. Ellis shouted, "You hired fake cops?" "With our dues." Harold waved his clipboard. "They're certified compliance officers. This is about maintaining standards." Emily stepped closer. "Standards don't include pointing guns at my husband or forging authority. This is endangerment, Harold. You put the whole neighborhood at risk." The deputies finished loading the imposters into the cars, but the burly one with a fresh scar on his jaw made a sudden move. He twisted free from a loose cuff, lunging at Emily with a roar. "You're not getting away with this." His chained hand swung like a club. Time slowed. Neighbors screamed. I lunged forward instinctively, but Emily was faster. She sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and with a practiced twist, flipped him onto the grass. A sharp crack, his wrist bending wrong, and he howled in pain. She pinned him with her knee, snapping on proper cuffs. "Add assault on an officer," she said coolly. The deputies swarmed, hauling him up as the crowd erupted in applause. "Way to go, Sheriff," Mr. Harlan yelled. Harold looked smaller now, his bluster fading under the glare of a dozen phones. "This wasn't supposed to escalate," he muttered. Emily stood, dusting her uniform. "Escalate? You orchestrated armed intimidation. That's not governance. That's tyranny." The sirens faded as the cars pulled away, but the real storm was brewing in Maplewood Estates. Whispers spread. How many other enforcements had Harold authorized? Were our fines even legal? The neighborhood, once compliant out of habit, was awakening to the injustice lurking in their own backyard. By afternoon, the evidence surfaced. A deputy approached Emily with a folded paper from one imposter's pocket. "Sheriff, check this out." She unfolded a mock warrant on what looked like official county stationery. Her name bolded, charges listed as community ordinance violations. But the judge's signature was a sloppy forgery. The named judge had passed away 2 years prior. At the bottom, prepared by Maplewood Estates Compliance Division, complete with the HOA logo, a stylized house and gavel. Emily held it up for the gathering crowd. "This isn't real. It's a fake, tied directly to our HOA." Gasps rippled. Harold stammered, "That's a template error." But the damage was done. Neighbors demanded answers. "You've been scamming us? How much of our money went to this?" Emily sealed the document in an evidence bag. "This goes to the DA. Forgery, conspiracites, all here." Harold's face went ashen, his clipboard trembling. For years, he'd wielded power like a petty king, fining folks for overgrown hedges or unauthorized swing sets. Now, exposed, he was just a man in over his head, facing the wrath of those he'd bullied. Word spread fast. By evening, the Maplewood Estates Community Center, usually reserved for potlucks, and bingo, was packed for an emergency HOA meeting. Chairs scraped as over 100 residents crammed in, faces flushed with anger. Harold stood at the podium, trying to call order. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's discuss this rationally. The enforcement was meant to uphold our covenants." Boos erupted. "You mean terrorize us?" a voice shouted. Emily took the floor, projecting calm amid the chaos. "This morning, armed men invaded my home under Harold's orders. They waived this. She held up the bagged warrant, a forged document funded by your dues. A projector flickered on, showing phone footage, the door pound, the standoff, Emily's takedown. The room roared. Resign. You're done. Harold protested. The board approved it for the community's good. But his allies on the board shrank back, silent. Mrs. Ellis stood, her voice steady despite her age. I move to remove Harold Benson as president, effective now. Hands shot up everywhere. Seconded. The vote was overwhelming, gaze thundering, no opposition. Harold slumped, defeated. You don't know what you've started, he whispered as deputies escorted him out. The meeting dissolved into cheers, but Emily quieted them. This isn't just about one man. It's about reclaiming our community from fear and unfair rules. The next day, media descended like locusts. Local news vans clogged the streets. Helicopters buzzed overhead. Clips went viral. Suburban sheriff foils fake cops in HOA scandal. The district attorney announced investigations. Will charge impersonation, forgery, and more. Neighborhood enforcement partners is under scrutiny. Social media exploded hashtags like Maplewood Mutiny and HOA Tyranny trending. Neighbors shared stories, fines for minor infractions, threats of liens, all tied to NEP's aggressive tactics. Digging deeper, Emily uncovered NEP's web, a Houston-based firm contracting with HOAs across states, using intimidation to enforce petty rules. Incidents in Phoenix, a family evicted over paint color. Omaha, elderly harassed with fake debts. And Nashville, bogus fines bankrupting residents. This is systemic, Emily told me over coffee. Harold was their puppet here. Federal agents raided NEP's offices, hauling out computers and files. Harold was arrested days later, cuffed in his driveway, cameras capturing his downfall. Charges piled on: fraud, endangerment, conspiracy. 2 weeks passed, and Maplewood Estates breathed easier. The HOA reformed under new leadership, transparent meetings, fair rules, no more enforcers. Kids played freely, flags flew without fear of fines. Emily was hailed a hero, even briefing the governor on HOA abuses. It's bigger than us, she said. Corrupt networks preying on everyday folks. I worried about retaliation. Harold's parting words about bigger forces lingered, but Emily was resolute. If they come, we'll stand together. In the end, justice prevailed. NEP dissolved amid lawsuits, executives jailed, and communities nationwide audited their HOAs. Maplewood Estates became a model of resident empowerment, free from the shadows of injustice. Emily and I sat on our porch one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky. We did it, I said. She smiled. We all did. What do you think about the violence and injustice that can hide in everyday places like our neighborhoods? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe HOAs have too much power, or are they necessary? Take a stand and let me know your perspective. Your stories could help others facing similar battles.